that's not the end all be all. I always love a big two. I don't really love a big three. I don't really. People talk big three, but the big three thing has never really worked. And you say, well, what happened in Miami? That wasn't really a big three. There was three guys that went in the lottery, and they did really well individually on their team, so they put up big numbers and had big accomplishments. But when you think about it, Bosh was the ultimate professional. He took a back seat, and he played a role in which, because he had such a high IQ and he was such a professional as an individual, his approach to everything is what made that work. When you look in Boston, okay, you could say Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce was a big three. Again, thinking about names, but the way that offense was ran, Rondo's capability during that time, it was a lot different. When you've seen people go for that, it never really worked. And I've had this conversation with several different, owners of teams.
What up? It's your boy, back again. Marlo Knows Basketball and Marlo Knows Boxing. Back at y'all with another one. Mr. Clutch Sports himself, Rich Paul, is back at it again. LeBron, fanboy of the century, is back at it again. He is pee-popping on the handstand, twerking it up for LeBron James. Now he's trying to say that Chris Bosh was just a regular player. But we all know that's not true. We all know that Chris Bosh is an 11-time All-Star. We all know that Chris Bosh was a beast out in Toronto, averaging 24-plus points a game before him, LeBron, and D-Wade formed this super team. We all know Chris Bosh led the Toronto Raptors to the playoffs as the best player on the team multiple times. We all know Chris Bosh was arguably a top 5 big man in the league when he clicked up with LeBron James. We all know that. We all know that saying that Chris Bosh was not a star is a lie and very disrespectful to Chris Bosh. But that's what Clutch Sports has to do. That's what Rich Paul has to do. That's his job. That's how he makes his living. He has to twerk it up for LeBron. He has to pee-pop on a handstand, bust it low, and he can't do that without telling the truth that for LeBron's first couple championships that he needed 2 other franchise players on his team to win. And with Rich Paul making these bogus remarks stating that Chris Bosh was not a star player, it got me to thinking. Chris Bosh and Pau Gasol were very, very similar players in their production and their output and their playoff appearances and success prior to them linking up with Kobe Bryant and LeBron James respectively. When Chris Bosh and Pau Gasol were with their own teams, Chris Bosh being with the Toronto Raptors, Pau Gasol being with the Memphis Grizzlies, they were very, very similar players. Both were arguably top 5 big men in the league. Both were franchise big men that multiple times led their teams to the playoffs. But the difference between Kobe Bryant and LeBron James is a Pau Gasol, Chris Bosh type player was all Kobe Bryant needed for him to go to 3 straight finals and go back-to-back and win back-to-back championships. A Pau Gasol, Chris Bosh type player was all Kobe Bryant needed. It's a fact that Pau Gasol and Chris Bosh were very, very similar. You see, the year before Chris Bosh went to go play with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade with the Miami Heat, Chris Bosh on his own team with the Toronto Raptors was averaging 24 points a game. He then goes to the Miami Heat and it drops down to 18 points a game. Pau Gasol, by contrast, when he was on his own team, the Memphis Grizzlies, he was already only averaging 18 points a game, just like Chris Bosh ended up averaging in Miami. However, he was already averaging that same amount of points on his own team. he goes to the Los Angeles Lakers and his points per game does not go down. He still averages the same amount of points, which is 18 points per game, which is the same amount that Chris Bosh averaged when he went to go play with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade on the Miami Heat. And I just thought I'd point that out for all of the LeBron fans who love to say Kobe Bryant was a ball hog and a gunner and things of that nature. When Pau Gasol went to go play with Kobe Bryant, his points per game stayed the same. When Chris Bosh went to go play with LeBron, his points per game dropped by 6 points, a whole 6 points. So Pau Gasol didn't have to sacrifice his game. Chris Bosh had to sacrifice his game for LeBron James, because, you know, if Chris Bosh were to actually play to his full potential, LeBron wouldn't be able to shine as bright as he wants to, and as his booty boy Rich Paul wants him to, which is why he's trying to diminish Chris Bosh's contribution to the team. But anybody that watched basketball during this time, during the early 2010s, late 2000s, knows that this was a big three from the start. When it was announced, it was 3 franchise players clicking up, getting together on one team, and everybody knew it. Everybody knew this was a super team. Everybody knew it. Nobody referred to it as anything but a super team. LeBron James needed not only a Chris Bosh, Pau Gasol type big man to get his first championship, he also needed a top 5 guard in the league. In my opinion, Dwayne Wade wasn't even just top 5. He was a top 3 guard in the league, at least. So LeBron James needed that Pau Gasol, Chris Bosh big man along with the top 3 guard in the league. Without that type of help, LeBron James couldn't get it done. Now just imagine if Kobe Bryant had a top 5 guard in the league in addition to Pau Gasol. Just imagine if in addition to that Chris Bosh, Pau Gasol type player that Kobe had and needed to win championships, imagine if he had a top 5 guard in the league. Oh wait, that actually should have happened. But David Stern in the league blocked it. They stopped it from happening. Only LeBron James is allowed to have that kind of help. Only King James. You can't do revisionist history. Everybody that watched basketball back then knows that that was a big 3 in Miami.
Which big 3 has the better long-term future? The Miami Heat have their 1 championship. The Oklahoma City Thunder obviously looking for their first moving forward. Stephen A., start us off here. Which big 3 has the better future?